You're welcome.
Yep.
Okay, doing roll call district by district. District 1, Patrick McGibney.
Here.
Andrea Lucure.
Present.
District 2, Kristen Horowitz.
Hi.
Tom Cross. Hello. District 3, Larry Bender.
Present.
Larry.
Present.
Rayo.
District 4, Deborah Howe.
Present.
John Lind.
I'm here.
All right, and county appointees, Jim Stanfield.
Oh, we may need to find him and unmute him.
I just heard him.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he just got booted somehow in his back.
Okay,
All right, and Trish Bartel.
present.
And we still have a vacancy for at-large supervisor appointees.
Yes, we do. So from the chairperson announcements, I want to let everybody know in the community at least that we are working on our strategic planning sessions right now. And we're talking about purpose, communication, values, outreach, our committee purposes, and we will present what we're working on at the January meeting. And the other thing that I want to let the community know is if you will look at the agenda, we have started to add links so that anything that we are going to talk about, you will have a link so that you can look at it. And if you have comments, you can look at it prior to the meeting. And if anyone is having trouble finding the links, finding information, then go ahead and talk to your council person within your district so that they can help you find the information you need for either your committee meetings or for the LOCAC meeting. And then included is we are also working in revising our bylaws and our policies and procedures. And our first draft is linked below, so feel free to take a look at those. And we are going to review and discuss those in January also. That's all I have. Council member announcements. Anyone have one? Patrick?
Yes, just for clarity, this is the LOCAC meeting for December 15th, 2022. That wasn't recorded when you said it.
Okay, thank you.
There was a reason for why he said that, so thank you, Patrick.
Any other council? Kristen?
I have two. The first thing is, like you asked, what's the point of the plant? Well, it's Sahara mustard season. And if you don't know about it, basically it was brought in during the sewer project from Fresno. It's invasive and it will take over. So I have spent the last 10 years like pulling these things out on dog walks. And I thought I would invite all of you to also join the fun and strengthen your hands. Okay, so the other thing is that the city of SLO actually has sent out a survey that's very valid to our community because it's asking basically like, what are our parking, driving, and transit habit needs? And I thought that was really valuable. So I'm going to put that in the chat. They just sent it out today.
Thank you.
I think that was LOCAC that sent that out.
Actually, it was the city of SLO, which I
It was, yeah, because I sent it to Kristen when I received it today.
Oh no, I got it on my own, guys, because I am a business owner there. So just kidding. Anyway.
All right.
Deborah.
Yeah, I just wanted to announce that we're working very hard with our bylaws and our policies and procedures. And I think it's very important that you understand that we're serious about it and that probably you know what happened with the Oceano Advisory Council. It got unrepresented and because there were issues with transparency and issues with communication. And so we want to be transparent. We want to have good communication. And so we're working very hard. And I think if you take a look at our bylaws and the work that's going to come through with our strategic planning session, hopefully that will all come through. That's my announcement.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members or announcements? All right. let's go down to our county and local reports. If the sheriff is here, please raise your hand.
Oh, there he is. We see you.
I don't
Elliot.
see him.
Can you see him? He's really dark. Like you're outside.
Oh, here?
Yep.
Elliot,
Hey,
Elliot,
there, I just got unmuted. Can you guys hear me
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, there
All
you are.
right, sorry about that. And sorry about the lighting. I'm mobile right now. If everyone can hear me okay, I'll get going.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, so I'm Elliot Coys, Sergeant with the Coast Station here in Los Osos. From the month of November, our stats are pretty much on par with the prior year. We're very close to the same number of things it looks like. Calls for service in Los Osos, we had 71 in November. 7 of those were assaults or battery. 25 were just general disturbance calls. 3 were burglaries, 5 thefts, 1 vandalism, no mail thefts, no phone scams, 22 suspicious circumstances, 70 proactive enforcement stops, and 34 preventative patrol activities, which could be, foot patrols, various things of that nature, kind of being proactive. I should note that although it says 0 phone scams, a lot of those get filtered out by the dispatch center. So we get pretty much every day, it seems like we get them, but if there's no monetary loss, no leads or anything like that, then they'll generally get filtered out through dispatch, sometimes forwarded to online reporting. And for mail thefts, I believe the middle class tax refunds are going to start going out if they haven't already soon. So I would watch your mail for that stuff. If you can lock your mailbox, do so, check it every day, that kind of thing. And then I think most of you already know this, I'm sure, but Los Osos Station covers from basically Avila Beach to Ragged Point. These are just the stats for Los Osos, and these are just how incidents were reported to us. Some of them may have dispositioned a little bit differently than that. Any questions for anybody?
Any questions from the council? No, thank you. Any questions from the community? Raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here tonight.
Anytime. Thank you guys. Take care.
Thank you. Now we have Captain Klingenberg. Right here, asked to unmute. There. Okay.
There we go. Thank you very much. So I am nothing if I'm not transparent. Today was a day where I participated in a funeral for one of our retired officers. And I only say that to say I left my Los Osos stack of collisions on my desk and left them there and did not return to the office afterwards. I did give this presentation to the Los Osos CSD earlier in the month. And so I'm kind of going from memory. I do know that Lindy Owen was there, and she can correct me, I think, if I say something that's wrong from the month of November for Los Osos. I don't believe that we had more than about 6 collisions for the community of Los Osos, those stretch, as I've talked about before, those stretch down Los Osos Valley Road as well, near the city of San Luis Obispo. But we didn't have any collisions that were major or of note. Most of them were of a minor variety. I wish I could be more specific about all of the locations that they occurred in, but I can tell you that they're sitting on my desk. And if you have any questions about them, I can get that information to you afterwards.
Well, Captain Klingenberg, one thing that you could do is if you want to just forward those to us, we can put them on our website.
The problem I could do that. There's a lot of redaction that goes into that
Oh, okay.
because those are only available to the involved parties
Okay.
or people, parties of interest actually is the correct term. So
That makes sense.
that would be a lot of redaction that I would have to do for that. I could probably figure out maybe a spreadsheet that I could do. That might make it easier. If I could figure out a spreadsheet, then I could send those and we could talk about it in maybe in that way. That's actually a great idea, actually. I'll work on that. I will work on that. And then we could send it and then we don't have to deal with Greg Klingenberg and his forgetful
No, we
brain.
want to deal with him. We like having you here.
I'm sorry.
We don't
sorry,
want just a piece of paper. We love having you here.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, I'd happy to still be here. I just, that way I won't forget. That way it'll keep me in check. How about that?
That would be wonderful.
All right. Any questions for me
Any
this month?
questions for the council? No? I think it's very close to the holidays. Any questions from the community? Raise your hand. Jim, you are asked to unmute. And Jim, I think, was talking. I asked you to unmute. I'll ask you again.
I wasn't.
There.
I wasn't talking.
Okay. I think you're off the hook tonight.
Well, I appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate all of your service to the community. Have a great December. Have a safe and happy holiday. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Corey Hahn with the county report. To unmute. Okay, Corey.
Hi, everyone. I sent over the monthly reports. Thanks for bearing with me. I didn't have that for a few months because of our system updates, but that I believe Tom probably distributed to the rest of the group. That's the main thing. The other thing is the coastal zone ADU ordinance. As you know, we've been in discussions with Coastal Commission staff. The plan is to take the ordinance back to the Board of Supervisors in the next few months. As you also know, the ordinance includes a prohibition for Los Osos currently as recommended by the Coastal Commission. So that will be considered at the board soon. Part of the discussion we have with Coastal Commission staff is that their preference is to deal with ADUs as part of the Los Osos community plan rather than dealing with it separately in the ordinance. So that's the update I have for tonight.
All right. Any council members with questions?
I have a question.
Deborah?
Corey, what does that mean when you say that the Coastal Commission wants to deal with ADUs as part of the community plan and not as a separate ordinance? That's not clear to me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So they want to work on Los Osos comprehensively through the community plan rather than allowing ADUs at this point without the rest of it hashed out with the community plan. So the goal is to have it looked at holistically and comprehensively with the rest of the community plan rather than only focusing on ADU in the coastal zone ADU ordinance. And part of it is because, you know, the ordinance can always be amended later if we figure it through the community plan to allow for ADUs in the future in Los Osos. So you know, rather than holding up the rest of the coastal zone up where there isn't any water issues, their preference is to have it. Let's move forward with the ordinance as is. Let the board make the decision on where they want to land on it, and then as it relates to Los Osos, we can, if there comes a time when it's appropriate to allow ADUs in Los Osos, that will be done through the community plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the community?
I have a question.
Okay, Larry.
So when you speak of the community plan, are you speaking of the one that's in place right now or the one that the Coastal Commission and you and the county are working on?
The one that that has been adopted by the board and is being considered by the Coast Commission.
Okay,
So the one that's being the one that's being worked on.
okay. Thank you.
Any other council questions? Okay,
Um,
any,
I have a question regarding habitat conservation. This fellow might be our best source at the moment. Is there any update on habitat conservation plan negotiations?
No updates yet. I'm, you know, when I have an update, I'll be sure to update the group.
okay. Any community members have questions for Corey? Becky? I've asked you to unmute.
Yes, I found it. Hi, so Corey, I guess I'm not super clear. So things will stay the way they are right now with the county not issuing any ADU permits until the new community plan is approved? Am I getting that right?
Mostly, I guess, some nuances. So as of right now, as of today, secondary dwellings in Los Osos are allowed. The minimum lot size and all that, the requirements are not easy for most lots to meet, which is why you don't see a lot of applications coming through based on today's ordinance. The ADU ordinance that would update that. The ordinance that went to the Coastal Commission would have allowed ADUs in Los Osos. The Coastal Commission reviewed it and made a recommendation to not allow ADUs in Los Osos. So that's what's going to go back to the board for the board to consider. The board's going to take action on whether or not they want to move forward with the recommendations from the Coastal Commission. After the board takes action on that, it'll be sent back to the Coastal Commission for their certification. If the board takes action to accept the recommendations from the Coastal Commission and the Coastal Commission subsequently certifies it, then ADUs would be prohibited until future actions that would allow for ADUs that would, if it were to happen, would likely be part of the community plan process.
Okay, so so basically the county is going to go ahead and do what they've been doing and accept permits when they've been told not to, to stop. And when is the board supposed to vote on this?
The county has not been accepting applications for ADUs since I don't know the exact date, but it's been at least a year since we stopped accepting applications in Los Osos.
Okay, but we know that's not true, Corey, because we have found permits. It may be guest houses or other things, but we have them. We went on the website and found applications for our permits that have been accepted within the last year.
Do you have a specific example of that?
I do. I can see if I can put the chart up, but we have some that are, and some of them are. One was converting a garage to a guest house.
Nice.
One of them's on hold, but they have been accepted within the last year. And Emily might be able to clarify that, or possibly Patrick, but I do have the documents and they have been sent to Coastal. So we just really wonder, what the heck's going on? And I know other people have questions, so I'll let them go ahead.
Lindy. Asked to unmute.
No, you need to unmute Lindy.
I did.
I thought I did. I'm sorry. Okay, I had a question, Corey. At the last Board of Supervisors, there was a discussion about some of the ongoing costs for wastewater treatment at the Los Osos facility. And I wondered if there is a chance in the future for us to have an update, at least an annual update at how well the plant is functioning and what kind of costs are being incurred, because ultimately the prohibition zone does get to pay for those, or will have to pay for those. So is that a possibility to get a just an update of where we are right now with the sewer plant, cost overrides, problems, etc.?
I'm not familiar with that. I mean, that's probably more of a public works question. Maybe if that's the will of the council, I can reach out to public works and see if they want to, if they're able to come and make a presentation or to give an update.
Corey, we as LOCAC can go ahead and call Public Works on that for you. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you.
And then just one quick clarification on the previous question about ADUs. So guest houses and ADUs are two different classifications. So guest houses, yes, they are allowed today, and there is no change in position on how that ordinance section is implemented. ADUs is a different story because ADUs are considered a separate unit. If there's any applications that came in that you would like clarification on, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to look into it. But as far as I know, because the applications typically come across my desk, I haven't seen any new ones come in for ADUs specifically. If it's a guest house, I don't see them. Because that's just a different category of building permit. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit.
Yeah, because the definition between the two is very different, because ADUs have an efficiency kitchen, bath, bedrooms, max 1,200 square feet. 25% of existing dwelling needs a deed restriction, setbacks required, no homestay allowed, lot size 1 acre. Guest house without indoor connection to primary residence, maximum 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Wet bar, single sink, under counter refrigerator, no kitchen, no laundry, max 600 feet. And then it goes on, and it has to have a shared meter. So we need to look at those also. Next is Becky. I will ask you to unmute.
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I just want to say, we know what a joke this is. We have a lawsuit about a ministerially permitted guest house with 2 bedrooms, and we all know that a wet bar can have cooking stuff in it. I mean, it's a joke, and we all know that our aquifer is critically overdrafted. So we need to wake up, people, because the home office thing is basically the same thing. And so, yes, they are units, and they're huge. So I'm really disappointed in our county. I mean, I'm sorry, I swallowed wrong. Because the Coastal Commission told them to stop with single family guest houses and ADUs. And we all know it's a ruse. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
That's it. Anyone else for the community or council for Corey? Okay. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. The Bruce Gibson is not available tonight, nor is Blake. So we'll go down to the CSD report, and raise your hand if you're here for the CSD report. Would that be Chris? Yep, thank you. I'm unmuting you. Okay, I'll try again. All right.
Okay, is that working?
Yep.
All right, hi, everybody.
Hi, Chris.
So our December report, I guess what we've been working on, we're doing, building a state, condition assessment for Fire Station 15. The board approved a building condition assessment contract with Omni Design Group, and the work is underway. The fire station was built back in the late 1960s with an addition in the early 1970s, and very little work has been done on the station since. The purpose of the assessment is to look at the structural integrity of the building, along with electrical, plumbing, and mechanical components to evaluate the overall condition of the building. The assessment will provide the district with much needed information on future costs to repair or replace the facility. The information will also help with the development of a long-range strategic plan for emergency services in the community. That effort's also underway. We had a request from S&T Mutual Water Company to consider 2 separate agreements for receiving water in an emergency from the district. The first is a water hauling agreement that would allow water trucks to fill up at the district fire hydrant and truck water to their neighborhood. And the second is allowing for a pipeline connection to allow for water deliveries during the declared emergency. S&T relies on one well, which is experiencing increased nitrate contamination. The emergency water connection would provide redundancy to their lone well in case of a mechanical failure or any water quality violation. So at this stage, they're just looking into it. They're going to talk to Ron about it, and we'll have more information about that project early next year. At our last meeting, we had a city incorporation request. A local community group, the Committee to Incorporate Los Osos, submitted a letter to the board requesting that we consider leading an effort to incorporate Los Osos. The board and the public consider the pros and cons of incorporating, finally deciding the timing's not right, giving the limited revenue base to support a city. There are many ideas discussed, one being better coordination with LOCAC. And I know that Ron Munns has been in contact with Trish, and a meeting will be arranged to talk about how to move forward with this idea. Hopefully there will be information to share at the January LOCAC meeting.
There will be.
I think they said in the past that we used to have joint meetings maybe once a quarter. And I know CSD is interested in having joint meetings with LOCAC. So I hope you guys are too.
Yep.
Other items of interest, Parks and Rec Advisory Committee is reviewing sections of the Los Osos Community Plan related to park resources to gain better understanding on what is needed in our community and to try to develop strategies on moving forward. This would be a perfect topic for LOCAC and the district to discuss. We had a clean audit. The annual financial audit for the district operations is complete. The board will be considering the results at the January 5th meeting. We had no deficiencies in internal controls and no recommended corrective actions needed. The audit can be found at the district website, and I'm on finance committee, so we were very, very excited about the results of that. And finally, the program Seawell is on schedule with the well drilling phase complete. Pipeline design is ahead of schedule, and the well equipping phase is just getting underway. The entire project should be completed by June 2024. And that's what I have. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Okay, any questions from the community? Okay, looks like you're off the hook tonight, Chris. Thank you so much.
Wait, actually, I've got someone.
Kristen?
Marcel's got his hand up. So.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted a quick comment regarding the fire station inspection that they're doing. Just to call out for awareness around the amateur radio emergency services room that is in that site at South Bay Fire, making sure that that's included and something that we make continue and keep in good shape. That is activated weekly as part of the emergency communications tests that they run. So I just want to make sure that there's awareness there and that we make sure to keep that resource for the community as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'll double check with Ron. I mean, I don't think we're trying to get rid of anything. I think we're just trying to make sure the building is structurally sound.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know they have some antennas on the roof, and I believe there's a desire to help increase some connect other parts of the county. So that might be part of that effort. Thank you.
All right, we'll keep that in mind.
Next up would be Andrea.
Just real quick, congratulations on the audit. You know, audits aren't really very sexy, but that's a great feat. So nice job on that.
Oh, thank you. Those of us on finance committee get excited about these things.
You should. That's amazing.
You should.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Becky.
Oh,
Hello. I wanted to congratulate Chris also. Good job on the finance thing. I'm so glad you're there to do that. I did have a question about the trucking of water to Sunset Terrace S&T. Was there not mention of possibly making an intertie to, I don't know if it was CSD or Golden State Water for them, so they don't have to just truck it?
Well, so there's two parts, and one is an intertie with CSD and the other is trucking, and both of those would be on an emergency basis. So I guess if there's let's say we did move forward with the intertie, it would take time to build, and then they had some sort of emergency, then we'd have to resort to trucking. Hopefully we don't need any of those things. They're just trying to build resiliency in their system. They're relying on one well, and that's a bit scary.
Right. And I don't know if people know that there were 4 wells, but now they're down to 1 because of nitrates and seawater intrusion. And I'm hoping everybody realizes that our overpumping inland is drawing more stuff into their zone of the aquifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff, I will ask you to unmute.
Yeah, just a quick comment to you. I appreciate you looking at Parks and Rec stuff. Some of the stuff that I had recently was looking at in the community plan, and I don't really have a good comprehension of the Parks and Rec component, but it appears, obviously they keep talking about we're underrepresented for parks here, and they changed the designation to what can be considered appropriate for parks, and I may not, I'm ad-libbing here a little bit because I hadn't looked at it in a while, but it's now considered open space. And when you go and you really look at a lot of and they say, oh, we got a lot of open space. Well, when you really start looking at some of the quote open space stuff, it's really not the kind of land you could ever put any kind of recreation on. So I guess whoever's looking at that, just make sure they're looking at what the designation that's actually now being considered for parks, if you will, or being represented as could be potentially parks in the future. And specifically, I think one of the ones that I noticed, just as an example, was on 3rd Street. There's open space near Sweet Springs here, all along 3rd Street. I think that's all starting to be redesignated as open space. And therefore, all that acreage could potentially be park. You're never going to have a park there. So anyway.
Yeah, you're talking about where it's the water comes in, it's all full of trees.
Yeah, it's on the west side of 3rd Street. So yeah, it's where, people have talked in the past about maybe having a boardwalk along there or something to that extent to get from the central business district down to Sweet Springs. It's been contemplated in the past, but anyway, not to drill into that specific one, but it seems like they changed the designation of what land could conceptually be considered parks for us, and I just be careful.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I think that's why they're looking into it. So
yeah.
I hear you.
All right, let's go on to the Chamber of Commerce report.
Could
John,
could
you
I,
had
can I
your-
ask you, Chris, could I ask a question to Chris about one thing?
Yeah.
Could you repeat again what you said that would be completed in 2024? Was that the pipeline project or what was that?
The program Seawell that, and now it has a new name, which is throwing me off. So this is, we've been working on this for years. And they finally completed the drilling. So now we've got to connect it to the water system, and that is out to bid. So that is the whole idea was to have the wells more on the eastern side of town, and hopefully that would alleviate the saltwater intrusion. So that's what they're trying to move the pumping. And the water quality was great, and the yield was great, but now it just needs to be connected, and that takes time, and that's what's supposed to be completed June 2024. And a lot of times you have these dates and then it gets pushed out. But
Sure.
it's been moving. The staff's been doing a really great job, and it's moving along, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Chamber of Commerce report. Jim?
Yeah, we had a planned, very active weekend with a tree lighting program, parade, needs and wishes program at the community center. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we got a big massive rainstorm, wiped out our parade. Actually, at 9 o'clock, it was beautiful, but it rained a lot before and rained a lot after, so the good news to cancel the parade. The tree lighting that took place Friday night, quite well attended, and lots of young children, which was probably a big plus for us. Needs and wishes, I talked to Richard Markinson. He said they were the only game in town on Saturday. Everybody else was rained out. So they had a big turnout and had a nice collection. And they support the Noor Foundation and Forty Prato. That was good news. It's not a chamber activity, but the parade tour leads into that. Thing coming up is our installation of new board members coming up in the near future. Date has not been set yet.
Any council questions? Okay, any community questions? All right, Jim, you're off the hook. Thank you.
Right.
Next is public comments for items not on the agenda. Speakers would have 3 minutes. Any hands up for that? Okay. Let's move on to approval of the minutes from the October 2022. Can I get a motion? Okay. Jim, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Deborah is a second. All right, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Right.
And any opposed? Nay. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Committee reports, the treasurer's report, Jim.
Yeah, real quick, the only major change is a deposit of $2,040 from a county grant to assist with our outreach activities. We received the check, be depositing it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, land use report, Larry.
We had an interesting meeting back in the 5th there. Got a couple of projects I'll be talking about later. And then we have a couple of projects coming up on our January 5th meeting. It'll be interesting for our community. And that's it.
Larry, isn't that January 2nd?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Right after New Year's, January 2nd, Monday.
Okay. And Larry did put a summary link on the agenda. So if, that's a great one for you to look at for what was determined at their last meeting. Trees and landscape, Andrea and John, not sure who's going to take lead.
I'll start, and John will definitely, I'm sure, add some information. Before we talk about our planting proposal, I did want to let everyone know that we will be having our regular tree and landscape meeting the fourth Wednesday of every month. However, we will not have one in December. And then we will cancel as needed, but we will schedule that on a regular basis. So thanks for that. And then we sent a proposal to LOCAC to take a look at and hopefully approve us moving forward. It's basically it's a replanting project at the corner of Palisades and Los Osos Valley Road at the community center.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there any way that you can share the screen and share that with the council?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared to do that. I'm trying to think if it's on this computer.
Wait, what are we trying to share? Because I think I probably can do it.
Oh, it's the link for the proposal. Thanks, Kristen.
Right? They should all be in these files. So
yeah.
The committee recommendation, is that what we're looking for? The memo?
Yes.
Thank God for techies.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Nerds.
Oh,
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I'm certainly not going to read it, but this is a review. Basically, it's a replanting and planting project. The project that the majority of some of the plants that were planted back in, I think 2020, have thrived and others haven't. So we're proposing to move forward on this. The members of the committee have met with the county staff, park staff, to take a look at where we're going to plant, and there's an attached map on the document as well. There you go, Kristen, you've read my mind. And we have requested some money from the county to fund the project at about $1,000. We're also working with the county to make sure that these plants will be on the drip system. And John, I know you've got probably some additional comments to talk about this.
well, a couple of years ago, before COVID hit, the Tree and Landscape Committee, when it was still active, and our private fundraising group, which is called Bare Roots, is planted, I think, about 18 plants at the community park. Most of them are doing fine, but if you'll notice, every time you pass the corner, which is sort of the entrance to a lot of county facilities, most things are not doing well. So we thought, let's dress up this corner of Los Osos, at the Los Osos Park. And so we've been talking to the county for 6-8 months about this, and they finally seem ready to allow us to do this. So we're very excited. And once we get the okay, we will let everybody know we're going to have a planting day probably on a weekend for an hour or two. And we'd love to have everybody come out and make some green in the ground there.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so the questions, I have 4, it looks like. So are these plants native plants to the area?
Well, I think about 3/4 of them are. So not all of them, but the park has a palette of approved plants. So we had to go by their. We had to have it. It had to be on their palette.
And where is the water coming from? Is it coming from the current park?
The park has a well, and they're trying to work with the county, as I understand it, to utilize an already available recycled water line that's actually there but not hooked up. And that's one thing that I'd like our committee to ramrod, would be to get recycled water delivered to the park, to the schools where we are using pump water currently. So for now, there's drip system already there. They're dripping to dead plants. So the water's already in place.
And then who's going to maintain the plants?
We have an agreement, at least tentatively, with the county that they will provide the water and that volunteers will manage the plants if they need to be trimmed or replanted.
Okay. Tom, you're up.
Yes, what time are the meetings planned on the fourth Wednesdays? Because Outreach also scheduled their meetings for the fourth Wednesdays. I want to.
Oh, 6 p.m., but we can chat.
Awesome. All right.
Disregard my email then, because I just emailed too.
And any other, Jim?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
Hi.
Jim, you're up.
Oh, okay. John and Andre, that corner right at Palisades and Los Osos Valley Road, I'm sorry, we always put the chambered tree there, Christmas. You're not planning on
I'm sure we can find room for
I think
that
that's
because I know
corner.
that the tree is there right now. Right?
that
Yeah.
area is where we do it.
Yeah. Well, as far as we're concerned, we'll make room.
Yeah, I'm gonna launch a project to see if we can't get a major tree planted there, a live tree. And I think we have some people who might help us do that because that's a very tentative situation. If we had a nice live tree there, that would be great. So that would be one of the things I'm gonna be working on.
Mhm,
Jim,
okay.
we can add the location of the holiday tree on our map. So,
Good.
so we'll designate that spot so it's not planted.
Good, thanks.
Kristen, you're up.
I just wanted to celebrate that you guys are working with an organization that I'd not ever heard of before called Los Osos Bear Root Spelled Well. And I just wanted to celebrate. Thank you for me finding that out. That's all.
Love that.
Yeah, it is a nonprofit organization affiliated with the Urban Tree Foundation. They give us our nonprofit status and they handle our Bear Roots finances for us. So people can
Even
donate.
the logo. So good.
Right.
So thank
Sure,
you.
it's great.
Any other council members have questions on the project?
I just have a comment.
Yep.
Andrea, if you're gonna look for another date instead of the last or fourth Wednesday, don't pick the third one because I have the third Tuesday.
Yeah, you have third Tuesday.
I have the third Tuesday.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other council members' questions on the project before we go to community questions? Okay. Lindy, going to ask you to unmute. It's not, maybe somebody else asked unmute. Mine's not doing it. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello? Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I'm a little confused at what the water source is. There is a well behind the tennis courts that I believe is an upper aquifer well. And we should be using as much of that water as we can because it's going out to the ocean. And so I'm curious about what the irrigation source is going to be. Purple pipe would be great, but if we're using upper aquifer, and I don't know if the park has stopped using that upper well or not, but that's the kind of water that we shouldn't be too worried about because there's an excess. So
No, I
hopefully
appreciate
you guys
it.
can find out.
Yeah, that's a good point. We will try to.
Thank you.
Emily, you're up.
Hi, guys. So who's the point person for the project there at the corner?
Both John and Andrea.
Okay, so I don't have your guys' email, but I'll check into funding with Fire Safe Council. There's probably some limitations on it, such as using fire safe plants. And I only saw a flash of the the handwritten kind of map, and I saw Coffee Berry, and that was about it. But I'll check and see if there's money available. And that's not walkable. I haven't walked from that direction, right? That corner. It doesn't have like a path through it.
No, the county is not excited about a path right there.
Okay. All right. So that might limit it too, because the idea would be for people to experience or educate fire safe. I'll check into it and I'll get with you guys. And
Thank
that's
you.
a good map. I will I'm gonna take a screenshot of this so I can study it more. But
Emily, that's
thank
on
you.
the LOCAC website, as is the
Okay.
project description. It's linked, just so you have that.
Okay. All right. And then can you guys so I'll find out how to get your contact numbers and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah.
Yeah, Emily, Andrea's email contact is on the LOCAC website with her committee, but I actually do have a question. John, you said that the county's not enthusiastic about putting a path through there. Why? Because there's no sidewalk there. There's no sidewalk for people to walk on to get to the tennis courts, and we could really use a path through there. So I'm curious if they told you why.
Just the usual reasons, Deborah. That, you know, I feel the same as you, that there ought to be one, and I hope there will be one at least on the other side of the Palisades down to the library and continue all the way to Sweet Springs. There should be a way to walk to this area from both sides of town, and you know, I'd like our committee to be working on paths with you, Deborah, and planting trees along those paths. That's sort of the vision we have.
Yeah, I see people walking in the street with their tennis rackets because they have no place to walk.
Right.
To get to the tennis courts. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Sure.
And John and Andrea, what are you asking the council for tonight?
Our understanding was that after our committee gave a consensus to move forward on the project, that LOCAC as a group would need to give us a thumbs up so we can make progress.
Okay. Does the council agree? Robert's rules, we don't have to do a vote. Can we just all say aye or put your hand up if you agree?
We should do a vote.
We should do a vote. Okay,
Let's make a motion, Tom.
All right, I move to approve the trees and landscaping project as outlined in the agenda.
Perfect. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
That's Jim. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Any nays? None. Unanimous approval to
Thank
move
you.
ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, Robert's rules isn't so bad.
It's great, but I'm going to be calling on you. So just be ready.
I'm ready.
And then Tom and Kristen, news on outreach.
I'm writing down the motion.
Sorry, yeah, I just got a text. I always never know if it's bad. I actually am going to screen share because I like you being able to read something. So, in hindsight, I probably should have sent this, but I was not organized enough to do it when you called for things. But maybe I'll start doing that. But I wrote it up because I felt like a nice year-end thing since we haven't done too much. We consolidated everything into a LOCAC Google account. We used to have like 3 or 4 or 5 different accounts. Poor Lynette still gets emails from GoDaddy, and GoDaddy is just like ignore them, which is so mean. So we also have it on Host, so it's cheaper and less security issues. We updated MailChimp and LOCAC templates for consistency in the branding. So like the logo is all the same, the colors. We're using G Drive, which is searchable. I still need a volunteer who's interested in renaming the files for clarity because I keep getting feedback on that, but I don't have time to. But if you do, the thing that's important is that old school wise, we used to have cool names for files. in G Drive, like, let's see, here's my, up here, I can literally type in, let's see what happens, and it's going to bring up some stuff that has to do with projects, and you can do whatever it is you need specifically, and it will actually bring up whatever the text is. It's very cool. So that's how that is designed to work. We got the meetings and templates updated. I already said that. And then we have regular meetings on the calendar, as you heard Tom express, but maybe we'll have to adjust that, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. My goal is to have the meetings be as short as possible, so we can do, it's called like prepared or silent meetings, where you do the preparation beforehand, so you don't have to spend a lot of time together talking about it. You just know where you're at. So that's kind of my methodology, and I'm hoping we can do that. For data, the email list has gone up by 45 people in the last year, which is not a lot, but it's up, so good. Email opening has gone up on average 10% since 2021, so people are a little more engaged too. And click-through rate is up by 200% since 2021, which means like someone may open the email, but if there's a link, those people are all clicking on it. That could also just mean there was no links to click on before, but that's your data. I don't currently track website visits. I guess I should, but I haven't set that up yet. And then goals, I mean, really, our big thing is to get consistent guidelines for what gets communicated where and in what timeline, because that is not clear anywhere. I've tried to standardize that, but it still isn't being followed. So we really need to get full community buy-in, which is what we're doing now. So yeah. The whole council is on board with a broader outreach, which we talked about in our other stuff, but basically we're going to try our best to be supportive of the collaboration between LOCAC and other, or our UCSD and other organizations, as well as like really try to reach out to the broader community and let people know we exist. And then my thought, and Tom, I haven't really said this, but we're waiting to finalize new bylaws and procedures and stuff like that, because if we don't, otherwise we'll just like not be in line with what everyone wants to do. So we're sort of waiting to see what the goals are. And then I would like to find some concrete goals for engagement on like the number of people we want to see in the newsletter, and increase public input, both in general numbers and by demographic. So then I went into Wikipedia, so you can see all these lovely statistics that I found, which I found really interesting. The annoying part is there's 2 entries for Baywood and Los Osos, and it doesn't delineate them. So if someone out there wants to get it in there, it also needs updating. So have fun with that. But this was the breakdown that I got from the 2021 results of the 2020 census. So it was kind of interesting just to see what we want to kind of try to get at, and how many people to reach, and decide like how representative are we if we only have 300 people and we have 14,000 people on our news, you know. So we'll just see what we do. But that is my report. Do you have anything to add, Tom?
No, that did it very, very well. Just we've got to work the trees and landscape so we can go to both meetings.
I'll be sleeping.
Okay, thank you guys. The Ad Hoc Water Committee, Deborah?
Yes, let me get my, this will be a short report. The Basin Management Committee meeting for December was canceled, so I won't be reporting anything from that. But I do want to talk to you about the committee. The Water Committee is not an advisory committee like the other committees in LOCAC. It was formed as a special committee that would keep LOCAC informed about what was happening at the BMC and other county and state issues that might affect our aquifer. Since the council has been talking about improving our communication, it was suggested that the committee entertain the idea of changing our name to the Natural Resources Report Committee, and that this would allow us to report on other issues besides our aquifer. Since we don't hold any public meetings, we would love to have public input about this idea. We're also proposing, just think about that for a minute while I finish up. We're also proposing that we have a standalone page on the website that has links that you could click on. They would go to the Basin Management Committee, that's on the county website, could go to the Coastal Commission, a link, a Regional Water Board link, and links for each one of the 3 water purveyors. And that would be obviously all about water, but we might have other links too. If we start talking about habitat conservation, we may have a link to, fish and wildlife or something like that. So we are also wondering if we should combine this information with trees and landscape and include resources for native plants, local companies that specialize in drought tolerant landscapes, and have links for those resources. So want to provide as much information to the community as possible in a format that's really easy to find. So that's my water report.
Okay, any questions from the council? What does the council think about renaming it?
Lindy has a comment.
Okay, I just want to make sure the council was done first. Okay, Lindy, I asked you to unmute.
Did I say it? I think I did.
Yep.
So I guess I don't know if we're just, I think if you want to have a water committee, that is our most important natural resource. Right now, we're waiting for habitat conservation plan to go through. I think it kind of muddies the subject a little bit if we go too far in. And I think that's kind of where I like tree and landscape to look at what is good replanting material, and a connection to tree and landscape, as well as CSD, BMC, all those things. Might just be a more efficient way to, if somebody looks at our website and they're curious about what the water issues are here, natural resources, if they start looking at, too much that's also cross-referenced in other committees. So I'm not real excited about seeing the name change. What I do find really sad is the website does not have any of those connections to anything anymore. And I think we're going to have a little discussion about that later, but it was very handy to be able to go over for somebody that was new to say, oh, here's what the BMC's project, what their definition is, and to open that up and read it. So there was education before, and now I don't see much education at all. I would have liked to have spoken on the outreach issue, but we'll hopefully talk a little bit later. I think water is, if we have water resources, it's really important that people can go find the information when they're looking for water, but natural resources might throw them off. So
okay, thank you, Lindy. Any other comments from Becky? Is that a hands up or just okay? I think that was an okay. Okay.
We did discuss having a water and natural resources report committee, if we kind of added both of those to it, but thought it might be a little long.
Okay.
So, no,
go ahead, Larry.
I like the word water. I think that's an important topic right now, whether it's ad hoc water committee, water resources committee, whatever, but the word water there. So again, when people have questions, they come to our website, they ask us, we can say, hey, just go to the website and there's links to all the questions you may have.
So Deborah and Larry, would you be willing to add natural water resource committee with that?
Just leave it water. I would like to change it to report, so people are clear that this is a reporting committee, the water report committee, and leave it at water.
Okay.
And Larry's really good at making us keep it simple, stupid. So let's keep it simple. It's really going to be mainly about water anyway.
Okay, so the water report committee.
If that's okay with everybody else.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think, is that a motion that we have to vote on?
Tom, you're going to do a motion for us.
All right, I move to change the ad hoc water committee's name to the water report.
I'll second that.
Water Report Committee.
I'll-
Do you want, Deborah, do you want to do water report or the water report committee?
Well, I don't think it needs to be a committee because it's not a committee like any other committee. It really is just a report, and Larry and I, do it together. So
Great.
just a report.
So the motion stands. We have a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you. Active Transportation Committee update, Deborah.
Okay. Let me just, okay, here we are. All righty. September 20th, Governor Newsom signed into law SB 932. It's called, quote, Plan for the Future bill. The purpose of this bill is to accelerate green cities and active transportation. First, it will identify high injury streets and prioritize safety improvements to reduce traffic collisions. And second, it will create an annual grant program to award funding for active transportation projects. Yay. Okay, so I just wanted to share that good news with you. We held a meeting on November 15th where we discussed safety on Los Osos streets and intersections. And obviously, main topic is Los Osos Valley Road. We specifically discussed Los Osos Valley Road in front of the senior mobile home parks. There, as you're approaching Los Osos, and you come up that hill and you have the three senior mobile home parks on the left-hand side. If you're in there, if you're wanting to exit one of those residences, it's really hard because the traffic is moving so fast. They're going from a 55-mile-per-hour zone into a 45-mile-per-hour zone, but they're coming up the hill and the road actually gets wider. And so that just makes cars go faster. You've got the fast lane and the slow lane, right? And so it's really difficult for people pulling out of that those senior homes to make a left-hand turn if they want to go to Ralph's or Miners or whatever. So we're talking to the county about trying to make some improvements there. One of the things we suggested is a median, such as you would find at Ralph's, where you actually have a protected turn lane where they could pull out, get into that protected lane, and then make that left. That didn't go well with the county. They weren't enthusiastic about that whatsoever. So they did, you may have noticed, put up a flashing light where it would tell you how fast you were going, and that helped, but it was temporary. It's not something that's going to be there in any way permanently, although we have asked for a flashing light to be there permanently. What they did say they would do is they would repaint the existing stripes in the middle lane. The middle lane's very faded. That middle lane being the turn lane. And so with all the construction that they're doing on Los Osos Valley Road and the restriping that they're doing there, we asked them, well, just come up the hill and keep doing a little of that road striping and refresh the paint lines there, make it easier for people to see, especially at night. And they have agreed that that is something that needs to be done and it's going to happen. So we're happy about that. Obviously, we talked about safe routes to school, our biggest priority for this committee. And we also discussed the intersection of 4th and Ramona, which, from my way of looking at it, it's basically a three-way intersection with a blind curve. And I'm sure all of you have at some point been at that intersection and you know that it's very tricky to negotiate. So we're hoping that the county will come up with some solutions for that. They have in their plan that they're going to straighten that out, but I don't know exactly what that looks like. And we are interested because active transportation would like to create a pathway that would go through that intersection. So we're very interested to know how they're going to improve that intersection and how we would be a part of that as far as pedestrian and bicycle pathways. Last month, we talked about an application for a Safe Track. Safe Track is a organization that comes out of UC Berkeley. They help communities with doing safety assessments. We submitted an application. We're hoping that we're chosen for our safety assessment. They come in, it cost us nothing. They will do a safety assessment of all of our roads, our bike paths, etc. So if you'd like to take a look at the application, it's in the files under Transportation Committee. So you just go to the website, go to committees, go to Transportation, and you'll see files. Click on files, you'll find the complete application there of what we submitted, and we're crossing our fingers and hoping that we do actually get chosen. And finally, our next meeting will be December 20th, 6 o'clock on Zoom. And typically our meetings are the third Tuesday of every month. All right. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Nope. Any questions from community? Lindy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I am very impressed with all the work that you guys are putting together, and it's very comforting to see that some of this is being addressed seriously. So kudos.
Thank you, Lindy. Yeah, we have a very good committee, and I'm very proud of them.
Mhm.
All right, bylaws we talked about earlier in the meeting. We're in the process of revising our bylaws and policies and procedures, and we should have those at the January meeting. So let's move on to consent items, which we have none. Regular agenda item. Larry, you want to speak on these two?
Okay, the first one we had was the Steffens project. They have a small 800 square foot house or 900 square foot, wanted to add 800 to it. We brought up issues. They want to turn it from a 1 bath, 2 bedroom into a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. And concerns of adding more water use, which at this time is not favorable. So we were split on the vote on that. And so we decided to pass it on to LOCAC here and let the committee decide whether to support or not to support the project.
And this is a young family that's having a baby, right?
Yes, well, yes. I don't know if they're having a baby. They're talking about a baby, maybe.
Okay.
Unless they're here to talk about it. I was looking for them to see if they were signed in here. Any folks from the Steffens project here? Raise your hand or send up smoke signals, something.
All right, Tom, you have a question?
Yes, so is there any plans to increase the amount of people living there? And if no, what is the concern for increased water use if the amount of people living there using the water there is not increasing?
They're right at the moment, there is no plans to increase the number of people living in the house. But we have seen that things in life change. And we've seen houses that are sold as, and more people move in. So again, being concerned about our water for the future, just thinking this is maybe not the right time to do this.
Okay, Kristen?
Did we get any files about this to review? Because I feel like if it's just based off of this particular thing, that doesn't feel like a complete.
There was a whole package that I posted, and
I'm looking in the files. I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and I looked for him, I couldn't find him. I have a question. The Coastal Commission on page 3 in their memo to Trevor Keith stated that at the same time, we believe that it is likely that small home additions and renovations are not likely to increase water use on a property. So, you know, if this is keeping a young couple in our community and allowing them to maybe raise a family and not leave our community, the Coastal Commission doesn't have an issue with it, which is what I heard from land use, because Coastal Commission is saying that they will approve small home additions and renovations.
Okay.
So, Kristen?
Thank you. I wanted to say that just the way that this is being led, as a person who has a small house and 2 children that I didn't actually plan on, which doesn't matter if I do plan on them or not. Legally, y'all can't tell me how many people I can bring into my house. So it's hard to say, well, we can't, they're like this, but what their choices are. I lived in San Luis Obispo with 4 adults, 2 living in a garage until I was 31, because that is what I could afford. If I had a roommate when I moved here, so I brought 3 people instead of 2 because I couldn't afford my mortgage. I live across the street from a family that has, I think, 5 generations living in a single family home. I need to do an expansion because I don't have enough space for my house right now. As somebody who represents exactly this, the house that I live in is it's a very small home developed by people self-help housing as a starter home that was intended to expand. When it expands, it also uses less water with irrigation. So a lot of these arguments are just not, they're paternalistic, and you're telling a family what they sound like. So we need to change the tone if that's not what's really intended. Thank you.
Next up is Patrick.
Thank you. The Coastal Commission has denied bedrooms and bathrooms. And when they say that they will support additions, renovations of houses, that could include like a dining room. It could include an increase in a living room size. It could be a garage or a carport.
But that's not what this memo says to the planning commissioner.
Yes, it says they will approve increase in the renovations of a home or additions, and that did not include bathrooms and bedrooms. So if you can show me where it says no or that it will include bathrooms and bedrooms, that's something else. But they have denied this in the past.
Okay, Tom?
Kristen's story brings up a good point. Like, what happens to a family that grows and wants to stay and is unable to move out? Are they just like because the water use is going to grow, just like it's going to be uncomfortable to live in that house with that limited infrastructure. I don't like the increase of water use is a concern, but just like holistically, what happens with like a growing family in this area?
Deborah.
Yeah, Tom, I'm kind of like mind. Here you have a young family. They're planning on having children, and so the kids are coming. The water is going to be what it is. You certainly can't tell somebody you can't have children. And so I just want to state how I feel about this. And I think we become very focused on this kind of thing with stopping bathrooms and sinks. And I would really personally like to take a larger, more comprehensive view of water usage here. The aquifer is, is threatened, and we do want to get to a sustainable place, but it's not going to happen because we deny somebody a bathroom. It's going to happen because we get smarter about how we use our water. And I just would like to express some of the actual numbers that would go along with one person with 60 gallons of water per day will use 22,000 gallons in 1 year. When we look at the amount of water that we use here in Los Osos, the water purveyors, they use 1,000 acre feet. 30% of that is for outdoor watering, 30%. That's 300 acre feet is outdoor watering. If we were to conserve even 5% of that, 5% of that 300, that would be 4,887,764 gallons of water conserved. Forget about this little baby who's going to use water. That's not going to change the aquifer. But if we really want to put our energy into something significant, let's start looking at things like that, where we can actually make a big difference and stop trying to, for me, the future of Los Osos is a young family. It is having a vibrant community that includes families with children. That's what I like to see in Los Osos. And I don't want to see us trying to discourage people from living here. Okay, I'm done now.
Larry Rayo.
Yeah, I think, well, how people with growing families in the past used to, if their family was growing, they would buy a larger house. And I know that it's an affordability type thing, so it's not always the most practical thing. I'm not sure that the Coastal Commission is denying extra bathrooms, because those are more as a convenience, but I do know for sure that they are denying extra bedrooms. So I think, with that said, that if this project, even if we okayed it, I think it would get flagged and probably denied by the Coastal Commission. So I think that's something that the owners of this property need to be aware of, is that it because of the extra bedroom, it would probably get denied.
Patrick. Oh, you've spoken already. Kristen's spoken, Tom's spoken. Okay, we can go to Patrick, then Kristen, then Tom, and then community.
Thank you. Well, I agree with Deborah. We do want small families here. We'd love to grow. We'd love to just have a vibrant community. Unfortunately, we don't have the water at this point. If this is not just denying one baby or one family, if you open it up to one, you open it up to everybody. And, you know, there's no amount of water that you can say is going to be safe. Yes, we can conserve. That would be great. But, you know, you also have to remember the amount that the Basin Management Committee is pulling out, the 1,000 acre feet a year. That's based on a sustainable yield. We don't even know that it is sustainable, because we still have seawater intrusion coming in, which is a definition of unsustainability. So we don't know. We don't have the monitoring wells at this point to really determine where our water is. And until we get that, we just can't start saying, okay, this person is okay to come in, but this person, no, we can't have them in. So I agree with Larry. I don't think the Coastal Commission is going to approve this in the first place, but, you know, do whatever you want.
Hi, Kristen.
I just wanted to state on the starter home one that people don't expand here. Once again, in my neighborhood, within my ability to throw a rock, I live next to a third generation that built their home, raised their children, moved out, built their home, or raised their children in that home, and now we're on grandchildren. And they all had to raise their children, and they did not move out of their homes until they could not sustain it as two people, and they moved on and they allowed their family to be there. I have other people who have done second floor expansions, and I have 2 lots I can think of right now that started out like mine that are full expansions in our neighborhood. And most of those people only have 2 people living in them now, but didn't at some point. If you look at the census, the numbers have stayed kind of the same because things come in and out, and that's just natural. But like, I have retirees all around me that are 2 people in a 4 to 5 bedroom home with 3 bathrooms. And then I come in and I added I added water. And I'm just going to say again, we need to change the tone if we're going to talk about this and not talk about who can come in and who can't come in, but it needs to be at a higher level because the tone is really disrespectful of anybody. Like, I don't want this family. If I had come here and I had heard that I'm not allowed to be here, you don't want me here because I might make more water use for you, that is a huge problem. And that's not equitable. And that's really just thinking small terms. So I'm really sorry, but I feel like this is more of an ideological discussion. So that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. Tom?
Yes, I just want to reiterate our role as LOCAC here isn't to approve or deny these projects, but simply to voice our community concerns. And regardless of how we vote, our concerns on each side is listed in the minutes, and a vote is merely a recommendation, what we think we would like to see happen in our community. We have no power on what gets approved and what doesn't. We're just voicing our thoughts.
Very, very well said, Tom. Thank you.
I'd like,
Yes, John.
whenever it's right, but
Nope, it's right.
I agree that these folks ought to be allowed to do what they're asking. I think it's a very moderate, you have to look at, hey, if you want to have a community, you got to accommodate reasonable requests. So I think this is a reasonable request and we ought to approve it. And we need a bigger discussion about water. I've mentioned at our meeting before that we need to look at diversifying our water supply and look on a larger scale and not nitpick one bathroom. So that's my view.
Thank you. Any other council comments before we move to community? Okay. First up in the community is Lindy. I have asked you to unmute.
Okay. This is such a touchy subject because we're not trying to eliminate families growing and being part of our community. We're trying to not use excess water beyond what we are currently using, which is too much, according to the data. So, I mean, like Kristen said, everybody's already expanded their houses. That's partially why we're in a water crisis. More people are living in little houses. So one point that I like to always go back to is, and I think Patrick talked about it too, is we don't know if that family moves and goes out of state or goes someplace else. That house now has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, which is double the capacity that it had before. So by approving these right now, while we're in a very, I consider it precarious because you don't get a basin back. What we do today affects what we're going to have tomorrow for the existing community. And the idea that somebody has a baby or they expand and have an extra bedroom does not mean that they use less water. There's no guarantee. If you can pay the water bill, you can use all the water you want. And that's where you have to go on trust, and you trust that people will definitely try to cut back on their water and get rid of the waste outside the 30%. But we don't really have any way of knowing that they're going to live up to it. So I think we have to kind of put a bottom line to things, and adding 2 bedrooms is adding possibly a relative moving in, another person. It is expanding the water use. If they could keep it at, I've looked at these permits, they say 2 people will only be using 100 gallons or 120 gallons per day, but the water meter could say that they're using 300 gallons a day. And that's where we have, we've just lost the idea of trying to become sustainable.
All right, thank you. We need to wrap this up a little bit. Let's go to Becky and let's keep the comments short. You've been asked to unmute.
Okay, I just want to say, I do agree with Deborah about conservation. We need to do a lot more conservation in town. And I do agree, we need to look at this bigger picture. I really wasn't aware of what bad shape our aquifer was in until I started following the Basin Management Committee. So it is a big deal. I so love having kids and families. Highland Drive has tons of kids. And as an educator, yes, more young families here, but we can't ignore the fact that our aquifer won't be minimally sustainable till 2050. And that's a serious thing. And I think especially young people know climate change is causing a lot of things we don't like and are really hard to accept. And I wish it weren't so. Thank you.
Next up is Emily. I've asked you to unmute.
Hey, and I just want to, acknowledge what Kristen's saying, and we don't want to get into a world where we're micro controlling younger families. But what the Coastal Commission definitely, puts out there time and again is about the potential for when a home shift or change for them to be used differently in the subsequent family that might move in. And that's a lot of ifsy, whatsy, butsy, but a way to talk about this from a sustainability perspective is really looking at water use footprint, like current, and then potential water use footprint in the future. And how do you assign, both meaning and consumption potential for any footprint of any house. And that's kind of part of the shift in how we talk about these things in public meetings. And just wanted to acknowledge what Kristen was passionately talking about, and the shift in tone. And that's, I think, really important. It's really about water footprint and then water use, potential in the future. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve this project. I'm fine with it.
I'll
May I-
second it.
May I have a second? Jim, all in favor of approving the project, raise your hand. 3, 4, 5. 5 approved. Those opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Abstaining. 1.
I see 4.
There were
no
four
votes.
no votes.
Okay, one abstain, 4 noes, and 4 yeses. Correct?
I thought you said 5 yeses.
I thought there were 5 yes.
Yes, I was yes. Deborah was yes. Jim was yes. John was yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 4.
Okay.
Wait, what? Do it again.
4 yes.
5.
Who
I
said-
suggest we recall the vote.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I see 5 hands.
Jim Stanfield.
Oh, 5. Okay, 5. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Abstain 1. Okay. 5 yes, 4 no, 1 abstain. Okay, thank you. We will let the county know. Larry, you want to talk about the second
Okay,
item?
the next one is called a replacement house. There was like a 500 square foot house there long ago that was torn down. They now want to replace it. And Jeff Edwards is here. He'll talk about it. Again, we were split on this. Some people said yes to replacement house. We think it got caught in this no build zone of our part of town. And that even though it had water at one time, it's been too long since to build it now. And now is maybe not the right time to build to build a house and have more water use. And I guess Jeff Edwards will want to say something.
Okay, Mr. Edwards, I've asked you to unmute.
Very good. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Edwards, and this evening I'm representing the project before you. As was mentioned, this is a replacement dwelling unit. It currently has a water will serve letter from a continue to serve water letter from the LOCSD, and likewise a continue to serve letter from the Public Works Department for sewer services. There's an active water meter, and there's a sewer assessment of $24,000 on the property, just like all other single-family homes. There is a county staff report. This is a little unusual. This is more advanced than most of the items you review. There's a county staff report out. The county has proposed 37 conditions of approval and the associated findings. I'd like to note that this is similar to a number, 5 to be exact, 5 replacement dwelling units that have been constructed in Los Osos in the recent past. Of noteworthy is 1187 8th Street, which was unanimously approved by LOCAC. It's currently under construction. They're nearing completion. There were 3 other replacement dwelling units on Mitchell Drive and 1 on Pasadena Drive near Bay Street. So LOCAC has had a long history of approving replacement dwelling units. This replacement dwelling unit complies with Title 26 of the county codes for residential growth management. And it is going to hearing next year before the planning department administrative hearing officer. And I would ask for your support this evening in advance of that. I'm available for questions. This will be a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath home. That's all I have for now. I'm certainly available for questions. Thank you.
What's the square footage of the home, Jeff?
The replacement dwelling unit is 1,910 square feet with a 573 square foot 2-car garage, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
And what's the what street is this house on?
This is at 1153 11th Street,
Okay.
just down the way from 1187 8th Street.
Okay. Questions from council?
Jeff,
John?
does this house have a party that wants to live in it, or are they selling the house?
That has not been determined, whether it'll be owner occupied, rented. Won't be a vacation rental, I can tell you that. Not sure to answer your question. Sorry, couldn't be more precise.
What was the size of the house that it's replacing?
It's replacing a 576 square foot home.
How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms?
That was 1-bedroom, 1-bath residence.
Okay.
And I would add, Madam Chair, if I may, I would add that all of the other replacement dwelling units that I mentioned, including 1187 8th Street, the 3 on Mitchell, and the 1 on Pasadena Drive, all added square footage in bedrooms and bathrooms. So this is not any different than any of the other ones. Thank you.
Okay. And Andrea, you're up.
Larry asked the question I was going to ask, but I do have one follow-up on what Mr. Edwards just said. Time frame of those, I think you said 5 other rebuilds. Time frame last?
Yeah, those are all in recent times. 2 of them are just finishing up construction. 2 are complete, and 3 are complete. 2 are just finishing up. So the last 2-3 years.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Larry Bender.
I'd just like to make a comment to the board members here. I've been on Los Osos, I've been on the committee a long time. There was a time when county and even me believed that our water supply was sufficient, that rebuilds and remodels and stuff, were okay. We didn't want to, I personally didn't want to stagnate our little community. In the last few years, I've become more aware of the condition of our water supply, and I've changed my view on it. And I think other LOCAC members have done the same. So Jeff is very true. We used to approve remodels, rebuilds. I know of quite a few of them. I've seen them around town, and they're, but as I become more aware, maybe I didn't make the right choice then. Maybe we should have held off. And I'm just saying, hold off until we establish our water supply. That's all I want to say.
Tom, you're up.
Yes, I may have missed it. If you said it before, I apologize. But comparing it to last project where we were pretty aware of what the purpose of the project was for, and that's like an expanding family. And that informed our decision.
That has no bearing on anything.
No, Mr. Edwards, will you let him finish his conversation?
So I'm curious on what the purpose of this project is for, because the concern of just making a bigger house just for the sake of selling it for profit probably is not. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying if that were the case, that's probably something that this council would not be as fond of, but we'll see. I want to know more about the project, like the purpose of the project.
Mr. Edward, okay. I've asked you to unmute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps if we can get the rest of the questions and comments, and then I'll try to respond to everything at one time, if that's okay.
Sure. Kristen.
I'm just going to come back to, again, terminology. It really doesn't matter what the person is doing with the home if you're looking at somebody who's looking to be housed. Who owns it is not necessarily what matters. There is a housing shortage as well. The reason that my family wouldn't be able to move out of our house is because I could only move into a smaller house unless I leave the area completely. So again, that supply of house is not really what's the standing here that makes these kind of calls. And again, sorry, but I'm going to be abstaining because again, I wasn't able to see the full report. So.
Patrick, you're up.
Yeah, Jeff, I heard that the property's for sale. Is that true or not?
The property's in escrow right now. It was for sale and is pending escrow.
Thank you.
Tom, do you have another question?
No, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. Thank you.
That's fine. Jeff, I have a question. What are the water conservation steps that the construction company is going to go through for this house?
As conditioned, the requirement is to comply with Title 19.
That's it, because some of the other houses that we've talked to, and they talk a lot about, utilizing gray water, doing all of these different things. So I was wondering if a conservation for water plan has been created for this house also.
Sure. In response to your question, the home will have all high efficiency toilets, 1 gallon or less, 1 gallon per flush. We'll have 1.5 gallon per minute shower heads. We'll have a hot water recirculation pump. And of course, aerators on all the faucets. The landscape will be entirely xeriscape. So the anticipated, you may have heard earlier about a 70-30 relationship between indoor and outdoor use. This will be about 95 indoor and 5% out. So you'll likely see a gallons per capita per day of 40 gallons per person or less from this residence.
Okay, thank you very
Hopefully
much.
you're welcome.
Any other council questions? Okay, community questions. First up is Lindy. Okay, you've been asked to unmute.
Thank you. What I kind of notice out of this is the size of the house has tripled, as well as possibilities of extra water usage. Can you tell me what guarantee there is that the property will not use more water than the smaller original house has? I just don't know where the guarantees are. And again, if this was a purchase in order to develop a new property for sale, this is not necessarily, I mean, yes, we're adding housing, but this is high-end housing. So I guess those are my questions.
Okay, and I think, Jeff, you were going to wait until all of the questions were asked.
Yes.
Okay,
Indeed.
all right, then I'm going to move on to Becky. Asked to unmute.
Hi, my question is, what is the status of the Title 19 program right now? I know it was being reviewed this summer and
It's still being reviewed.
Okay, so it could be planned for, but we don't know what's happening with that yet.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, Deborah.
We're hoping that the Title 19 report will be coming out soon. Perhaps first quarter, I don't know, maybe I'm being optimistic. But if that were the case, would this project have to comply with the new water, the Title 19 offsets, the changes? That's my question.
All right, I think all of the questions are asked. Jeff, do you want to respond to some of the questions?
Sure. Maybe I'll go in reverse order. The current Title 19 program requires a 2-to-1 ratio of savings to demand. So 300 points are needed for one single family home. I just completed a conservation certificate for a new single family home. And 18 residences were retrofitted with hot water recirculation pumps. In other cases, we've often done anywhere from 10 to 12 fully interior retrofits of all plumbing fixtures. So the current Title 19 program has a high level of efficacy, and the anticipated amendments or refinements to Title 19 will only strengthen it. I really can't tell you exactly whether this project would comply with the current Title 19 or the new revisions. That really is a function of timing. Hopefully the revisions come in sooner than later. We're hoping for, at this point, early next year. The size of the residence was mentioned. It's a 2-bedroom home now. It was a 1-bedroom home then. I really can't tell you what all the usage of that 1-bedroom home was. What I can tell you is that this is conditioned to retrofit as if there were no previous usage. So it goes well beyond those other 5 homes that I mentioned. They had no retrofit requirements. So as far as timing, in planning and land use, if regulators and advisors can't be consistent, then we've really lost our way, I think. So these other replacement dwelling units, we're talking 1, 2, 3 years. I mentioned the 2 that are still under construction. I think the time differential is less than significant. I would say as to the question about the purpose of the home, whether it's going to be a owner occupied, a spec home or what have you, is really I honestly can't tell you, but beyond that, I really take exception to the question because I think it's not really part of this discussion. So with that, if I missed any questions, I apologize in advance. I'm happy to field them if I repeat them. But with that, I just ask that you approve this project. The recommendation at the county level is already for approval. And it's conditioned to be water neutral. That is the county policy, water neutrality. And so I think if we keep that in mind, we can move through some of these projects that either use no additional water or very little additional water. So with that, I'll close, and again, available for any additional thoughts.
Thank you very much. Could I get a motion on this project, please? Someone?
I motion to recommend this project for approval.
All in favor? Raise your hand.
Second?
Second.
Oh, a second. I'm sorry, second. Second is by John. All in favor to approve this project?
To
Raise your hand.
recommend.
To recommend this project. 1, 2, 3. Okay, opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed, 4. Abstain? 1, 2. Okay. Thank you very much.
Tom, did you abstain?
I did.
But you made the motion.
Yes,
But-
motion
but
is
he
a
can
motion is
still
not a vote.
abstain.
A motion is saying that I agree.
Wanted to move it along.
No.
Okay, Tom.
Okay, so regarding Robert's rules, a motion is
No,
gather around class.
I'm good with it.
No,
It's all
I
right.
must.
Oh my God.
A motion is like
Moving on.
someone agreeing to decide on something, not necessarily that they agree with it. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last item on the agenda tonight is we did talk during our strategic planning session that because of the time limit on these meetings, that they go from 9 to 9:30 normally, that when we have to talk about business, which we will need to finalize some strategic planning and policies and procedures and all of that, that we would have separate meetings. So the question I have to the group is, should these meetings be 6 times a year or monthly? That's my first question. And then I have some dates that I want to throw out there.
And Trish, you're talking specifically about the business meeting, right?
Business only, to talk about, when we need to talk about communication, when we need to talk about bylaws, policies, procedures, things that are not going to be decision-making for the community, but for our group so that we can function better.
What about twice a year?
Kristen?
Yeah, I was just thinking, why do we need to have it set at a certain way? Can we just call the executive committees as needed?
Yeah.
I prefer scheduled.
Okay.
I like as needed. I don't think we're going to need it monthly. I would say quarterly would be more than enough. And then we can adjust it.
So possibly quarterly, and then if we need, we'll have to type it up. If we need more, then we can add on, correct? Tom?
I like quarterly, or I like as needed. Potentially setting a block, like a day, like 4th or like 2nd Thursday of every month, we set in case we need an executive meeting or a business setting meeting.
I like that. Patrick?
Yeah, I would say bi-yearly or as needed.
All right.
Can I?
I would go with the bi-yearly. I know in the beginning now we need
We
work
need some, yeah.
once a month, but I think once we get that established, that, then it could be less often. So if we said it bi-yearly or as needed, so that in the beginning here, we get it all done. And then once it's done and established, then we make the corrections as needed. And we can always call for more time. If
Right.
in a year from now, we had some big issues, we can say, hey, we got to do it monthly now for 2 months, 3 months, you know, but if everything's working and things are good, just check in every 6 months.
Okay. Deborah, you're next.
Yeah, I agree with Larry Bender. Listen, I'm really busy and I've got 2 committees. Now we're adding another thing that I have to do that requires agendas and attendance and, okay. I'm all there. I'm there for it, but please let's not make it more than necessary because it's really going to be hard. Thank you.
Welcome. Kristen.
Can't hear you, Chris.
Thank you. I think all of us agree, like the idea of having to have meetings is no good for me, but we also have to get through work. And one of the things that Tom has always sparks with me is that reality is that we don't know how we'll use it. We might find it incredibly useful. It doesn't have to be hours if we get efficient. I think he's right that actually if we had it blocked out as a certain period of month, and then we can all decide at that meeting, do you want to cancel the next meeting? And then we have a standing meeting to know we're going to be prepared for it if we want to do it. We can always cancel them, but it'll be like herding cats to get them going again. And I think that's what his real concern is.
I agree.
I'll agree to that.
Okay. So if we're gonna start it, and then I know we have Jeff from the community who wants to talk. Monday, January 9th or the 16th work for me, or Thursday, the 12th of January, because we need to get some stuff done before the next LOCAC meeting. So I have the 9th, the 12th, the 16th.
I'd like to hear what Jeff from the committee or from the community has to say.
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick one. And I know the purpose of LOCAC is to represent the community, and you're trying to figure out how to be more efficient, and you're on limited time here. I guess the main thing I would be looking for as just a person of the community, or not committee of the community, are you going to have meeting notes that the public can actually see exactly, what the discussions, and so we can stay informed and get a sense of that. That's really what I'd be looking for.
Yeah, and they will be on Zoom, and they will be open to the public. But
okay.
yeah,
I didn't
so that you can hear it, but no comments, questions, or anything until the very end.
Yeah,
So-
no, that's fine. I just thought it was a closed forum thing that was going to start happening, and that sounded weird to me.
No, but we just, you can tell it's about 9 o'clock, and we still have, strategic planning to talk about, policies, procedures, bylaws. There's no way to get that done at the end of a LOCAC meeting. So we need to have a separate meetings for those.
That's fine. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Do 9th, 12th, or 16th work for anyone?
The 12th works for me.
Okay.
What day are we talking about?
We're talking January. 9th, 12th, or 16th.
What time of day, huh?
Let's do 6 p.m.
May I rephrase the question to second Tuesdays,
Second,
since that's what the 12th is?
yeah, the second Tuesdays I can do. I cannot do the first.
Second Tuesday is the 10th.
Yeah, no, it's the second Thursday.
Excuse me, second Thursdays. Thank you.
Second Thursday.
I have a conflict with that one.
The second Thursday is the 12th.
And what about?
I can't do the 12th.
What about second Mondays, which is what the 9th is?
Yep.
I can do that one.
I can't.
Damn.
Okay, so you know what? I will send out on Google Docs, just like last time, the dates that we are talking about. Either the second Thursday, the second Monday.
Tell when they're available, yeah.
And just see, I mean, we don't have to have absolutely every single person there to talk about these things. I mean, you will have notes, you'll have,
Yeah.
all of that you can refer to, but just, we've got to keep the process going.
Agreed.
So I'll get that sent out tomorrow.
Finding a date for new committees is always the hardest part.
Yeah.
I
It
thought
is.
Outreach had it and then Trees and Landscape stole it.
I know, just leave it for that. Anything else from council before we adjourn?
Yes, I have one quick thing. Speaking
Okay.
of that, thank you, Tom. Quickly, the third Thursday. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, John's good for that. Third Thursday,
Trees and
6 o'clock,
landscape.
tree and landscaping. Thank you all.
Yes.
Woo!
Okay.
That'll be,
Andrea,
that'll be,
can you reply back to my email and tell me? Because I have to scoot. So
Yes,
wanna-
I will.
Or you'll figure out how to
Thursday?
use the website and do it yourself.
Almost.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We are officially adjourned at
Thank you.
9:01.
Thank you.
Good night.
Marvelous. Nice job, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Yeah.